What is happening, everybody? trueeevil here, and today I want to talk about one of the hottest topics in Etheria Restart, which is Bloodbath is the hottest matrix on the market. And if you don't know what Bloodbath does, essentially when you take over 20% of your total HP, the excess damage is reduced by 55%. And the reason why so many people are talking about it is because of Revelation Cleave teams in RTA. And they're saying if you build every single one of your units with Bloodbath, it's just easy dubskis. And I'm here to give my honest opinion on that, which is that it's really bad. I don't recommend anyone to do that. I think it's a horrible idea for many reasons, but I'm going to do it with just like an easy reasoning part, which is, of course, pairing Lighthouse and Bloodbath is really strong. And if you don't know what Lighthouse is when you take over 25% of your max HP, you're healed for 25% of your max HP, and your turn meter pushed up 25%. But the problem is, right, is if all of your units have this as your 12 matrix, who's dealing the damage? And of course, you don't really need to do a lot of damage if they're only using squishy units, but the problem stems is, well, the Revelation Cleave teams are already countering this by being a little bit more bulky. They're picking Ling Luo and Valerian to go with their whole Rev team and sort of going away from doing the hyper setup and making sure it's a one-shot. Since it's not a guaranteed one-shot, they sort of build a little bit sustain so they can really tear through the Bloodbath, and that's working a lot in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to go in depth with that because I don't use Cleave, because I'm a true gamer and I believe that Cleave is too easy to disrupt, and I am here for those W's, not for those L's. And what is ending up happening with these tank teams is their Tiamat has it, their Holden has it, their Rahu has it, their Ling Luo has it, and it's so much Bloodbath that their units don't actually do damage. And I think this is a huge problem because, one, I don't think Revelation is that big of a problem. It's really easy to survive an initial Revelation hit. And then because they're so squishy, you can just use a bruiser to one-shot them right back. Not that big of a deal in my opinion. But because people are freaking out, and instead of thinking about how to, say, counter it with their own units and building a really strong roster, they're just going with this hyper crazy idea of straight Bloodbath. And of course, the problem with everyone on Bloodbath is no one's dealing any damage. As you can see, my Tiamat has 12 Wellspring on it, and this is going to make it so she actually does damage, right? That's something that needs to be done. Sure, we can turtle and make it so we don't lose the game, but the problem with not losing the game is we're not winning the game, right? And I'm a winner, so when I build my team compositions, I don't build to not lose, I build to win. And this is going to really improve your win rate because you're thinking as a winner and not as someone who wants to lose. If you're thinking about losing, you're going to manifest losing. And you want your Tiamat to do damage, you want your Rahu to do damage, you want your Holden to do damage, because let's face it, Messiah can't cleave you if you one-tap it. And that's going to happen a lot, especially once you build a diverse roster. And more importantly, right, is that once you start getting into higher elo, people are going to have bruisers on their team and roster. And if you have everyone with Bloodbath, who's going to win? The bruisers that do damage are the bruisers that take less damage and deal no damage. Of course, the bruisers who have that innate tankiness to them are going to win. And due to that, I'm going to give you some examples now of why I think that you don't need Bloodbath by showing me doing some RTA matches against people who have that really defensive Bloodbath team. And we're going to see how it goes down on the savage streets of Etheria Restart. Now, the first match we're going to watch on why I think Bloodbath is bad is we're going to watch probably the most optimal way to use a Bloodbath shell, which is of course with a Tiamat. Now, this is what I would like to call the classic Tiamat comp is, well, you're probably never going to get the Lily to stick, but you're going to be able to have Tiamat plus 3 supports. And what this does is essentially make it so your team is extremely tanky in multiple ways. And if you can get the Sonya Ling Luo, it really makes it so Tiamat feels just pretty much impossible to beat, especially paired with that lighthouse. As you can see, she got that heal off the lighthouse, didn't take a whole lot of damage from the Bloodbath, and is now just a giant tank. Now, the reason why I don't think this is particularly good is, as you can see from these attacks, when you're running a bruiser team, the Tiamat itself is just not doing enough damage. Tiamat, in my opinion, isn't a damage dealer. She is a tank that absorbs the damage from your bruisers. At least that's what I like to use her as. So in that retrospect, I think that would make her a good Bloodbath user. But in a situation like this, I actually think if you're going to be a mainline Tiamat and 3 healer type combo deal, I don't think you use Bloodbath, in my opinion. I think it's better to just try other options. As you can see with my Tiamat, I am running Wellspring, and it's just because of this. Like, I didn't really take any damage there, and we're just slowing them down. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's okay to take time because we're not really taking any damage, right? We're hitting them down. We know that this Ling Lugi has Bloodbath, but we don't need as much healing to really stay at full health because they're not doing any damage. And Fushu, who is the new character on the banner, highly recommend everyone pick her up. She's arguably one of the best characters in the game. Due to this, we don't really have to worry about anything. We're just laying down the slaps, and best believe it, boys, that Rahu leaves the slaps down like no other. And as you can see, we're just chilling. No one's really losing any HP. We're kind of just figuring out which one we want to roll on. And it's a little bit tough because of the Valerian shields, and it's going to make it so we have to do a couple of ways to get down to business. And what I mean by that is not only are we going to have to deal with the cheat death, we're also going to have to deal with the revive from the Sonya. And the best way, in my opinion, to deal with that is, of course, have Holden maximize the cooldown on that with his skill 2 after you do the cheat death, and then lay down the noise. Now here, what we're doing is, because we just got it so that she is out of her hazy dream, we're trying to just lay down as much disruption as we can and really take out the Valerian. There's always going to be that unit that might not have Bloodbath, and you want to figure out which one it is. It's usually one of them doesn't have Bloodbath because, well, Valerian Shield is going to be pretty abysmal if it's on Bloodbath, right? So as you saw there, basically with a bruiser team line, the Bloodbath team can essentially not do anything. They are pretty much left vulnerable, and although it will take a little bit of time of slow rolling them, they don't do damage, so you're going to just win them out. And that is one of the big reasons why I say do not have a full Bloodbath line. You have to be able to dish out damage, even if you're using bruisers, because the thing is people think of bruisers like tanks, and they're not tanks. They do damage. Your Rahu should be able to one-shot a Messiah. A Rahu should be able to one-shot a Yeli. A Holden should be able to one-shot a Yeli and a Messiah on the counterattack. That is how I view bruisers, and they are just a little bit bulkier. And it's sort of like playing Dark Souls. You're not playing some hyper carry unit that can get one-shotted. You're playing a two-handed brawler that can get hit 3 times. I think that's the biggest clarification that some people need, because people are going full on tank, and I just don't think there's any real unit in this game to go full on tank for that is a DPS line. Now, of course, you can build Tiamat with the Bloodbath Lighthouse. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world, but I do think you can't do that solo Tiamat team. You're going to have to pair it with someone, and it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that, right? Because if you have Tiamat plus 1 other DPS and 3 healers, as you could see in that one last match, I banned their Viper. So they're not really going to be able to dish out anything besides heals and a Tiamat that can't, well, do anything. So that is a big thing. I think Tiamat is like a off bruiser. She is like the support bruiser for the other 2. That is how I think you should always have your Tiamat, and never get stuck in a situation where she is your only DPS, because you're just going to have a bad time. Now, of course, you're not going to have a bad time when you're in low elo, but I would say that you should be having that 90-95% win rate in low elo until you get to, say, diamond. Then when you get to diamond, you'll probably get about an 85% win rate. And then when you get to master, you're going to drop down to, say, 65, 75. And then when you break in the top 100, I would say, it is what it is at that point. That's how I would view win rates. So let's go on to another type of Bloodbath team to see how it works with other units besides Tiamat. Now what we're going to do is deal with a Bloodbath inspired team that isn't a Tiamat to show what it looks like on the other side. This is a Holden that is going to have that Bloodbath. And this is going to be really important because most of the time what these people are doing is they're doing the triple heal, and it's really obvious what they're going to go for if their first two picks are going to be Ling Lugi and Sonya. And due to that, because I had the first pick, of course we're picking Kazuyo because she is the best way to win at this video game. What we're going to end up doing, of course, is second picking Tiamat, so they can't do the annoying Tiamat inspired way. And due to that, it's going to really disrupt them. They're going to third pick their DPS, and then of course you're going to ban whichever character they have as their secondary, which in this version was Viper. Now the annoying part of them picking so many healers, of course, is, well, we're not going to have our main healer, and we are losing out on our Fushu, and it's really sad to see that they have opted to do the Lighthouse Bloodbath and really soil the name of my waifu. So because of that, unfortunately, we do have to bring the noise on her. And it's really important here to also that we are using way squishier characters, and our healer is not the best for this, I would say. Just because, not because Mia isn't one of the best characters in the game, it's because she's unlatticed, and at an unlatticed version without using some PvE stuff, she is just not going to really cut it in PvP, in my opinion. But I am actually just using her on the PvE gear. She is rocking 12 time weave. She's got I actually don't even think she has anything besides 12 time weave right now, if I'm being honest. So it's going to be really interesting because this person most likely is on optimal equipment, and I'm sort of using my healer as a oops. They kind of picked all my healers, so really interesting. And the thing that you're noticing here is that Kazuyo is absolutely OP, and they're also not really doing that much damage. Mia isn't able to dish it out that much heals, so it's really like noticeable in this front. It's crazy to me sometimes how little amount of healing you actually need, especially in this game, because a lot of people are going for these triple heal teams right now, and I think that's just a little too excessive. I think what you want is two healers and someone who can do both roles. And what I mean by both roles is you want a character like Hell Kid. He can do both roles. The problem with Hell Kid, of course, is, well, there's just so much dispel now, especially with how prevalent Holden is in the meta. And the higher up, you're going to be seeing a lot more Heinrichs with Revelation and other types of crazy stuff. And, Obel is definitely going to exist, since Obel is one of the top 3 best units in RTA right now. And there's just so much dispel that Hell Kid is sort of just like not on the menu. But of course, if you see someone who is going like that Tiamat way, for example, 100% able to pick Hell Kid and feel fine with it, in my opinion. Yeah, there's just going to be a whole lot of things. Now, of course, it's going to feel a little bad because right now we're really trying to deal with these heals, and of course Holden has a little bit innate resistance to the green CC, so we're most likely going to lose our Kazuyo early. But the thing you have to remember with these healers, right, is the effect, which is the healing is going to get decreased substantially. And the honest truth to this is, well, by the time it takes for us to lose our Kazuyo and maybe lose our Mia, it's going to make it so, well, they're just going to get two-shotted at this point, even with the Bloodbath. And as you can see, boys, the Bloodbath is rather annoying, but it doesn't really matter. Now, this is a really sad thing to see right here, boys. They are flaunting that Fushu in front of us, knowing that she is our favorite character in this video game, and that we wanted to pick her, but they decided to pick her before us, and that's a really sad thing to see. And one thing to really notice about that is that Fushu, you know, she's going to start getting picked higher and higher as everyone is realizing she is a tier 0 unit. Now, of course, we went for the Sonya to get rid of that revive, but we are still hitting the Ling Lugi pretty hard because we wanted the Ling Lugi out to get a little bit more chances to cause the OCC, because we are trying to get rid of that immunity. Now, we're at the point where we're going to start losing our healer, just because our healer isn't like, she isn't the main healer, I would say. She's not like a Ling Lugi style healer, and due to that, the heals are just a little bit weak. But the thing is once you start getting into this end game, the heal isn't going to be as useful, in my opinion, as say an Artisan shell. Artisan is definitely the end game healer. As you can see, we just got the Artisan proc here, and it's just so thick that we're not really going to lose any health, especially now that we're only at 2 characters, and we can really have Doki just be used as a Rahu helper. And the great thing with Doki, of course, is that once you only have Rahu, the skill 2 is just going to make it so Rahu is doing his skill 3. This is going to be really important because you can do back-to-back skill 3s at this point. You can just go crazy. And the most important thing here, of course, is, well, the Holden has that advantage on the RGB wheel. So it does look a little scary, especially with that speed up. He's going to get some slaps in, but best believe it that what's going to happen is an Artisan proc, and most likely that's going to make it so we can bring the noise. The great thing with Artisan, of course, is that it's not just a survivability shell, it is also an crazy increase in DPS. It makes it so Holden and Rahu can really bring that noise, especially on a Rahu. There is nothing scarier in that 10-minute mark than Rahu popping that Artisan and absolutely going Super Saiyan and showing why he is the best DPS in this video game. So I hope watching that you kind of see that, well, Bloodbath is just not very helpful in a lot of situations that aren't Revelation Cleave. And now, even if it is Revelation Cleave, there is just so many ways to beat this Bloodbath that I just really wouldn't recommend using the resources, because I do think what will happen with all of these people spamming in the world channel how good Bloodbath is that people are going to waste a week of resources just farming Aurora. And sure, Bloodbath is good maybe on one of your units at a time, but it's definitely not a shoe that fits all. It's more like that size 13 shoe, and you best believe I have small feet with those 9s. And, you know, I'm not trying to wear those big shoes, you know. I'm trying to just go to New Balance or wear Tiva sandals everywhere. So that's about it. Hope this was helpful, and I hope that you don't build Bloodbath, because you will be taking you just might not have a good time in RTA, and that's what my videos are about. I want you to have fun playing Etheria Restart, so you keep playing the game. So I'll see you guys later.